Okay, my name's Michelle Rice. I'm patient engagement lead with the U.S. Pain Foundation, and I've lived with chronic pain for the last almost 24 years now. Joining me tonight is Bobby Blades, a longtime volunteer support group leader for the organization. The U.S. Pain Foundation, oops, forgot to put my slides on here for you guys. Got so excited to start. Okay, give me a thumbs up, Bobby, when they're showing. Okay, all right. Okay, here we go. The U.S. Pain Foundation is committed to improving the lives of people with pain. Our mission is to empower, educate, connect, and advocate for all individuals, kids, and adults living with chronic illness or serious injuries that cause pain, as well as their caregivers and clinicians. Recognizing that nearly every chronic condition has a pain component, our network is extensive. We work to elevate the patient voice, increase disease state education, improve pain care through policy change, expand outreach to underserved and under-marginalized communities, and provide comprehensive resources to ensure individuals are supported and empowered along their journeys. The organization develops free programs and services to help individuals. Our programs include a national network of support groups, educational resources and events, a pediatric program for children and families, advocacy efforts, an awareness magazine called The Invisible Project, and more. To learn more or how to get involved, visit us at uspainfoundation.org. Here is our agenda for this evening. After reviewing a few housekeeping items, we will introduce our guest speaker, Joseph, Dr. Joseph, Dr. Joe, as he said we could call him. Tonight's topic will focus on developing a wellness morning routine. Some of the things we will learn include how to wake up positive, why snooze you lose may be true, the sunlight factor, the importance of meditation, and what gentle body movements can help ensure your body is ready for the day. Following the discussion, we will open it up to a Q&A. With that, I'm now going to ask Bobby to share more about the logistics for tonight.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Whoops, you advanced. Oh, okay. No, there we go. Housekeeping. Participants are all on mute for the first portion, and questions will be taken at the end. During the Q&A, please raise your hand through the icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So if you take your mouse and go to the bottom, you'll see a smiley face that says reactions. And if you click on that, it will say raise your hand, and then you can lower it when you're done talking the same way. If you cannot find that way to raise your hand, you can always wave, but we have quite a large audience today. So better if you can find the reactions icon. So please keep your questions on topic as much as possible. If responding to another participant, be careful not to rescue or give advice. We're here to validate and support each other. Remember, different treatments work differently for everyone. Be respectful of other opinions. And please remute yourself once you're done speaking. And for the disclaimer, tonight's event is educational only. The information is not meant to take the place of your healthcare provider. You should always consult with your practitioner about your unique health situation. The U.S. Pain Foundation does not recommend or endorse any one therapy, treatment, or product. If you feel that your medical conditions are adversely affected by your participation in this webinar, it's your responsibility to discontinue participation and to immediately consult with your healthcare provider. Okay, back to you, Michelle.
Okay. See if this will go to the next slide. There we go. Okay. So I have the distinct privilege of introducing our guest speaker this evening. Dr. Joseph Rendina received his doctorate in physical therapy from New York Medical College and is also recognized as a board-certified orthopedic specialist. He is the CEO and founder of Iron Health Physical Therapy with multiple locations in New York and Connecticut. As a former competitive athlete and weightlifter, Joseph understands the specific needs and demands of the human body. Joseph's goal is to maintain an active approach to rehab while facilitating recovery. Of importance to him and his team is focusing on raising the standards around health and wellness so individuals can have a better quality of life. Dr. Joe, we are so excited to have you here to speak with us tonight, and thank you so much for being here. And I will go ahead and stop my screen share so that you can share yours.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. I'm very much looking forward to this. And you said a lot of things there that I think are really important and we'll touch on. I like the words you're using, support and empowered, right? That's why I want to do this. I want to be here for support. I want to make you guys feel empowered. And I hope a little bit of the knowledge I give can go a long way for you. And, you know, we will have a long Q&A session. So if you guys have questions, I would be more than happy. All right, can I just get a thumbs up if you see it and hear me? Great. All right, everyone. Well, thank you again. This is really a privilege. Michelle, Bobby, I appreciate the invite and the intro. It was very well said, and I'm excited to be here and really give knowledge. And hopefully you guys get a little bit out of this presentation, and you know, a little bit goes a long way. So I think that's important for me to start with. So the title, Keys to Having a Great Day. Right, that's going to be what our focus is. And now for me, throughout my life, one thing I really wanted to hammer down was like, hey, at the end of the day, why do I feel the way I feel? Like, what's going on in my head? What's going on in my process? And as I gotten older, and as I started to experiment with things, I noticed it was really what I was doing first thing in the morning that set the stage for the day. And having a science background, being a physical therapist, I wanted to bring that scientific approach to the morning and saying like, hey, why is what I can do in the morning, like what's the science behind that? And how can it really help me? And how can that help others? So that's what we're going to be talking about. So again, just a little bit about me. I know Michelle did a fantastic intro. My name is Dr. Joseph Randina. I'm a physical therapist. You know, I am a business owner. I have 4 physical therapy practices in Westchester, New York, and 1 in Connecticut. So before we dive into the presentation, I became a PT, and I always tell a story because it really goes along with the mission here at the Pain Foundation, right? Like, I want to make sure people are feeling empowered and cared for, because that's everything more than anything. When I was in high school, I was playing football and I tore a ligament in my knee, my ACL. And I remember going to my surgeon and him really not spending the time with me that I needed or answering the questions that I really needed to say like, hey, am I ever going to be able to run again? Am I ever going to be able to walk again? Like, what's going to happen? So the day after my surgery, I went to PT and I just felt like a warmth opening. Like, they were able to sit with me. They walked me through. I was a young kid. I was very upset with what was happening. And they showed me the way. And they brought me from walking with crutches all the way back to running. And I wanted to be able to give that to people. And I feel like that's everything. That empowerment aspect, right? Like, my PT back when I was a teenager really empowered me. And now I want to give back and help people feel empowered to move forward in their life. So first things first, in this special, right? Wake up positive. Now, we'll talk a little bit about what happens when we wake up, and then we'll talk about some ways that you can wake up positive. Now, most of the time, people, when you wake up, you actually have a cortisol spike. If you guys don't know what cortisol is, that's actually the stress hormone. It's a hormone in our body that's necessary. It's going through our whole system. It's needed. Now, if you look at the studies and you see what happens, the peak level of cortisol is usually between 7 and 8 a.m. Traditionally, that's when we as humans wake up, right? The sunlight comes out and we wake up. That's why sometimes when you wake up, you can feel the first initial thoughts are very sad, or like you can feel a certain way and not happy, or you're worried. The first thing on your mind is worry. That can be associated with the cortisol spike. So it's something interesting to know. It's like there is a biological aspect to why sometimes you're not waking up in a positive mood, or the first thing you think about may not be the positive way you want to start your day. So a couple basic things you can do first thing in the morning, and one I didn't write here really is, don't look at your phone or any technology as soon as you wake up, if you can hold it, because that really will create a trigger in your mind and increase the cortisol as well. So even before we jump into injecting positivity in your mind, just don't look at your phone unless it's just to shut off your alarm. So the second level is injecting that positivity into your mind. What do I mean when I say that? Self-talk. And I know we could talk about this and say, wow, that seems very much woo-woo or positive mindset type stuff. But the truth is, self-talk actually works. What you say to yourself in the morning is gonna create a trigger in your brain. You want to actually create a response. So there's something in your brain called neuroplasticity, which pretty much means that just like if you go to the gym and you do bicep curls and your arms get stronger, if you tell yourself something and repetitively do it, you're strengthening the patterns in your brain. So a good, quick, easy way to inject positivity is, as soon as your feet touch the ground, say something like, today's going to be a great day. Or gets locked into
Joe,
your brain.
okay.
And
We lost sound for a minute there. If you want to go back and say your last sentence, we couldn't hear you for a minute.
sure, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So injecting positivity, I think if that's where I left off, right? So the self-talk aspect, what I was saying was, as soon as you wake up, as soon as your feet touch the ground, say something positive to yourself, and don't just say it in your brain, speak it out loud. And the reason you do that now is you're like they say, you speak it into existence. You're actually training your brain that, hey, what I'm saying is actually what I'm thinking, and it's creating a pattern of thought that's going to be positive. So it sounds funny, but it's actually true. You're actually start creating these patterns in your mind, right? The second thing you want to do is nervous system deregulation. So we'll back into that in the next couple slides, but in essence, what nervous system deregulation means is you want to make sure you're calm, right? You're taking a nice deep breath. You're not rushing out of bed. That's why it's important to make sure you have an alarm and that you are getting up on time. You want to get up in a state of bliss rather than stress. So some tactics, right? We're going to restate that on the slide. Waking up positive. Replace your alarm with an uplifting song. You can do this on an iPhone. You can do this on a Android, whatever you have. Make that alarm, instead of the annoying beep beep beep, change it something. Change it to a song that you love, that really gets you going, that makes you feel happy. Because now you're training your body to say, okay, wow, like that song. If it's John Mayer, if you like John Mayer, that song by John Mayer is waking you up every morning, and now you're feeling great. So make that a part of your routine. That's a simple little hack that I've started to use, and it's changed drastically. And then again, when you say something to yourself, that's self-talk, say it out loud and repeat it. Say it 2 to 3 times as soon as your feet touch the ground, or even before your feet touch the ground, as soon as your eyes open. So those are a couple little tactics to wake up positive there. The next one we'll dive into, snooze you lose. I don't know if you guys are like me. I've been hearing this. My mom was telling me when I was 4 years old, if you snooze, you lose. And I'm like, all right, mom, whatever. Like, let me just sleep, right? But the older I got, the more I actually dove into this. And there's actually some truth behind this. And I will dive into the reasons, right? So the first step is, or the first thing I want to discuss is your REM sleep. What REM stands for is your rapid eye movement. This is the deepest sleep cycle we can get. So when you're sleeping, your body goes through these cycles, and you're going to hit REM a couple times in the night. You want to hit that REM because that's what makes you feel very relaxed, and you have that energy in the morning. If you're not hitting that REM, you're not going to be able to function at the top level. So what happens when you snooze? When you wake up in the morning, the first alarm usually ends your REM cycle. So if you disrupt that, if you snooze, when you fall back into that snooze state, you're actually falling back into the REM, but the start of the REM cycle. So now that's 5 minutes after that, you're disrupting that cycle again. And instead of having a full cycle of REM, you're waking up in the middle of it. So now you're going to be feeling less awake. You're going to be feeling groggy. You're going to be feeling a little sluggish. And that is the reason. You're disrupting your natural sleep patterns. Now, there's other reasons too for not snoozing. And I would say really the first thing, or like a big component of it, is you want to keep the promise you make to yourself by setting an alarm and waking up. Because now you have a win for the day. If you set an alarm for 8 o'clock and you don't snooze and you got up, if your day's not going the way you want it to, you can always revisit that and say, you know what, the first promise I did to myself, I got up, and that I did not snooze. So it's a good way to stack your wins, and it's a good way to make sure you're not disrupting your sleep cycle. So again, this is what I was talking about a little bit before. You want to keep your normal sleep. You don't snooze, you keep your energy going, you have increased energy, and you stack your wins. So I heard this a while ago. What does stacking your wins mean? First thing in the morning, I don't snooze. Then if I told myself I'm going to go to the gym or I'm going to exercise that day and I do it, now I'm stacking my wins, and I'm telling myself that I get to keep these promises to myself. And you're building your own self-confidence, and that's going to be really beneficial for pain, because now you can manage yourself, right? It's very important. The hardest thing with snoozing is breaking it. And I'm not going to sit here and say I never snooze, because I did. And only recently, with the last couple of years, I broke that habit. The first thing you have to know is, if you want to go down this route of not snoozing, is just be easy on yourself, right? Like, any habit's hard to break. Don't beat yourself up if it's not happening every day, but try it. Say, hey, tomorrow, you know what? I'm not going to snooze. And then the next day, you know what? Maybe I'm going to snooze and it's okay. But then try to get back on that pattern. You want to start incorporate these habits into your life. You don't want to just roll them out cold turkey. If you want to do that, great. More kudos to you, but you don't have to. Be easy on yourself. Start with small positive adjustments. For every time you do it and you want to make this a habit, reward yourself. Give yourself positive reinforcement. And then the other part is just start today. Don't wait for the next week, or I'm going to start in a month. Make it a pattern. Start it today. Sunlight. So the next component of having a great morning is sunlight. So why do we need sunlight? Sunlight gives you a serotonin increase. So just like cortisol, you have serotonin, which is another hormone. What happens when sunlight hits your eyes, your retina get hit with it first, and this helps release the serotonin. Serotonin is the feel-good hormone. This is a hormone we like. It's like, oh man, what's going on? It's beautiful. This is why we like sunrises, right? It's because of the serotonin effect subconsciously. So you want to go outside if you can, or sometimes if you can't get outside, or if you're in a place that's dark, they actually have these lights that radiate some sort of sunlight where you can get the serotonin release and a vitamin D release as well. So vitamin D as well is another component that you get from sunlight. This enhances bone strength, right? So it's a vitamin that your body absorbs through your skin, very important. And sunlight also keeps your rhythm for the day. Your circadian rhythm is established, right? Like, before we had alarms, before we had beds, we had these rhythm. We went to sleep when it was dark. We woke up when the sunlight. So we want to make sure our body's in that system. The more we're in the system, the better our day's going to be. We're in the normal system of what it is to be a human. Unless you have a job that's at night, some people, there are modifications which you have to do, but getting sunlight is very important first thing in the morning. And I want to say this too before I move on. All these stuff that we're talking about, you really want to dedicate time to this. You don't want to say, hey, I'm going to go on my phone and do my email, or check my social media. Dedicate some time to yourself in the morning to hit all these things. It could be a 10-minute routine that you get going. The next aspect, meditation/breathing. So in the slide before, I was talking about deregulating your nervous system. Things you could start to do to deregulate your nervous system. breathing decreases your heart rate and it connects you to the present moment, right? So when we say breathing, it's not just like, oh, I am breathing normally. It's just taking deep breaths, counting your breaths, 4-second inhale, 4-second out, exhale. You want to control that breathing. You want to get in a rhythm. Now you're starting to control your nervous system, right? Going back to cortisol, that stress hormone, the more cortisol you have, the heightened your breathing is. You're not breathing as deeply. You're not controlling it. So we bring our breathing down, will actually help bring the cortisol down as well. Meditation. Now I know I have a ton of people in my practices who, when I recommend meditation, they say, I can't do that. That's scary. You know, I can't stop my thoughts. I don't know how to do it. And I just want to say that that's not the whole concept of meditation. It's not just to stop your thoughts. So anyone can meditate. And when you meditate, it doesn't mean that, hey, I'm just going to sit there and think of nothing. That's not the truth at all. You're actually breathing and you're actually watching your thoughts. You become observer of your thoughts. This helps you to look at your thoughts objectively. And if you're in pain, it helps you to look at your pain objectively. Try to see it from an objective lens rather than being caught up by it all the time. So you can actually look at it and say, hey, I'm in patient of that. Deregulating your nervous system can be really beneficial. Keys to start this: quiet time. Again, put your phone away, put your alarms away at this point. You want to be, seated. You don't want to be lying down because you might fall back asleep, but that's okay too if that's all you can do. And you just sit there. And I would say the first step, count your breaths. 4-second inhale, 4-second exhale. Do that 10 to 20 times. That's a quick start for you. Hey, I'm going to do 20 breaths that I'm super focused on. And that's all I want to do. Could be as simple as that. The last component, and this is near and dear to me, is just move. Now, this is a saying we have at Iron Health, because a lot of times people, when they hear exercise, right, they can get very intimidated, like, oh, I need to exercise. Circulating, it gets the fluid in your joints moving, and all of that's going to contribute to you feeling better.